Guys, this is Juju Talk Sports. That's Jose Corral. This is 49 Reasons. Listen, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel and you're wondering, or if you've been on the channel before and you're wondering, where'd the background go? Where's your cool setup? Well, new apartment. So as you can see, I'm rocking, and it's only appropriate for this video right here, Madden 20, I believe. And, you know, Nick Bosa here, he's rocking a solid 89 rating. We'll get more into that in a little bit. This is our first ever fan vote video as well. You guys chose us over Chris Sims' quarterback rankings, which we'll get into as well. But there's another platform in which Jimmy Garoppolo is getting disrespected, and that is in Madden 2021. So we at least have the top 10 ratings right now for the 49ers, and they are listed as such. George Kittle, 98. Trent Williams at a 92. Richard Sherman at a 92. So 3 players in the 90s for the Niners, not bad. Nick Bosa's at 89, as mentioned earlier. Fred Warner, 87. Eric Armstead at 86. He is tied with Kyle Juszczyk at 86, best fullback in the league. D Ford, 85. McGlinchey, 85. And Raheem Mostert, who we just talked about in the last video, at 84. So there's the one big obvious omission there. And then there's the interesting inclusion there at the end, Jose. So reading off those ratings there, what's your initial thoughts?
You mentioned that the one that's missing, Jimmy Garoppolo. We've done a video on Jimmy Garoppolo before, kind of like the disrespect he's been getting and kind of the credit that he hasn't been getting from a lot of people, especially in the media. And now you see it in a different platform, in the video game platform, in EA Madden NFL 20 and NFL 21. I think it's just, I know their ratings, they kind of do it as a position base, because you mentioned that Kyle Juszczyk, 86, probably the highest rated fullback out of any fullback. But for him to be an 83, to me, is a little bit low, especially after the season that he had. To me, that's a little bit low. I would like to see him like 80, even 85, pushing 87. Top 80s is a little bit more accurate for me, especially the season that he had. We've dived into his numbers. We've mentioned everything that with the turnovers, him having to cut back on those. But still, that doesn't warrant him a low 80 score, especially if you look at some of the other quarterbacks that did end up getting towards the 84. I think Carson Wentz was an 84. He rounded out the top 10 out of all quarterbacks, which is respectable, which is fine. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Carson Wentz, but I'm just saying in the past season, if you look at it and if you're kind of just basing it off stats, which is basically what they're doing in Madden anyway, is just basing everything on stats and how they believe each player kind of rates themselves. And 83 to me is a little bit low. And you kind of mentioned there also Raheem Mostert. How does he – I don't even know what his rating was in Madden in 2019 before that. I'm sure it was not in the 80s. So for him to jump all the way to 84 and to not see that similar jump for Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of strange for me.
I mean, I think it's an algorithm thing when it comes to Raheem Mostert, because he was also rated the fastest running back in the entire NFL. In fact, it's kind of funny in the game, Raheem Mostert has the highest speed stat at 95, which you could see it in the game. Like, we all seen Raheem Mostert's game speed. Once he hits that hole, he is quick. He's actually tied with Matt Breida at 95 as well. So both guys, formerly, at least one on the Niners currently, could be a former Niner soon. We'll see. And then a former Niner in Breida. But, yeah, I mean, with Jimmy, I could see, like, if you wanted to make the argument, of course, he's not a top 10 quarterback, which, as you mentioned, he's not in the Madden game. I personally think he is. When I start just listing off names, I'm like, I would take Jimmy over this guy or this guy. And I do that enough times that puts him in the top 10. But for him to not even be a top 10 Niner kind of throws me off here, because some of the guys that you have listed above him at this current point. So, I mean, George Kittle is obvious, a 98 in terms of the tight end position. We know it's between him and Kelsey. It's definitely to Kittle's credit that he's the highest rated tight end in the game over Kelsey. So that's definitely something to talk about. Trent Williams at 92, coming off a year off rest. I have no problem with him being a 92 because we recognize him as probably the best left tackle in the game. Richard Sherman, 92. The guy handed to Uncle Sherman for still hanging in the 90s, especially because everyone playing that replay of him versus Sammy Watkins in the Super Bowl. But if you look at the entire body of the work from last season, there's nothing to say that Richard Sherman still wasn't a 90 overall player. Nick Bosa at 89 is interesting. So a great freshman campaign, sophomore season. I mean, we've seen this with Madden before. Like, I think their reasoning behind not giving to him a 90 or better is just they want to see it for one more year. I mean, coming off of Mahomes' MVP year, I believe they still had him listed as a 98. So there's a little hesitance sometimes for them to make that little jump, even if it's so minute. And he did only have 9 sacks last year, so I think they're kind of looking at this. Well, if you get double digits next year, of course we'll get you in there. I would put Jimmy ahead of Armstead, and then when we get into Juszczyk, I mean, Juszczyk, again, I'd have to look. Obviously, if he's not the best fullback in the game, then there's some weird algorithm that is just throwing me off entirely because I would love to see that list. I would love to hear a Matt guy make that argument for me. D Ford 85, his durability stat has to be like one of the lowest in the game. McGlinchey 85 is throwing me off a little bit. But again, Jimmy Garoppolo's importance certainly above Raheem Mostert here. So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, just going down the list, that's just like picking apart one by one. What did you think of Kittle getting that 98? What do you think that says about him?
That's super cool. It says what everybody else in the league is thinking of him. It seems like he's getting the respect because it hasn't been just 1 year of him. We mentioned the year before when he didn't have that much talent around him, and he was still doing it with the backup quarterback, putting lights up numbers. So you could see the respect that he's gaining, not only from his peers, who actually have him, a lot of them actually have him in the top 10. Pro Football Focus had him top 5 players in the whole league. And now you look at Madden, having him towards a 98. There's only been 2 players that have been 99s, and they were in this Madden too, Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes. So he was on the edge of becoming the 3rd player to ever have a 99 rating. So you could, that's really, really huge for him. You kind of mentioned how Madden kind of likes to have like a test year. And I think that was last year was George Kittle's test year, not only for Madden, but for a lot of people where they say, okay, was this guy just kind of caught everybody off guard his first couple of seasons? But now that the attention was really on him and they were throwing more the coverages towards him, he still had just a productive year, if anything, a little bit more productive. So it kind of just bodes well to him, the type of player that he is and the type of productivity that he brings to this team and the importance that he has to this team, as we could clearly say that he's the best player on the team. And Madden knows that, obviously. So I think it was really cool seeing him at a 98, getting really, really close to that 99. That was really cool. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's very well deserved.
I kind of wonder what's the difference for him between 98 and 99. I wonder what's kind of causing that little disparity there. Because obviously he's has to be a 99 blocking, right? Like every one of his stats have to be like through the roofs. And then in terms of elusiveness, yards after the catch, I think his ratings have to be like really elevated there. That's like his thing. So I kind of wonder what the difference is there. I mean, from my experience playing Madden, the durability stat doesn't really hit it if they were trying to knock him down for those like few games that he missed last year. But that's interesting. What about Trent Williams maintaining his 90, even coming off a year off?
I think it's just he's been able to prove it for the past, but besides last year, the 2 seasons before that, his Pro Bowl seasons, he has been able to prove it that he is probably the best left tackle in the game. And for him to still be in the 90s, even after basically having the year off and basically taking the year off because he just didn't want to play with the Redskins, which, well, not with the Redskins anymore, with the Washington football team, because he didn't want to play with that Washington football team. And then he's still having that 92. Hopefully he plays up to that. If he plays to a 92 in real life, good things are coming for Jimmy Garoppolo and that offense. So I was really excited to see that 92 as well.
Let's see. So D Ford 85 and McGlinchey at 85. I'm kind of, I guess the best thing you could say about McGlinchey, right, is you don't hear much about him. And that's actually a positive thing for an offensive line perspective. The fact we don't hear too much from that right side of the line, I think is a credit to Mike McGlinchey. Now, I think he's going to be expected to do a little bit more, in his 3rd year. I think we all are hoping that he could take that next step as just an elite talent. But, I mean, I think for a first-round offensive lineman, certainly a top 10 offensive lineman like Mike McGlinchey is, you would hope that he would be closer to 90 than, right in the middle there at 80, like just in terms of draft position and everything like that. So credit to him that he still got the 85. The Madden ratings, they went through and saw him as like at least B player for this team. D Ford, I mean, when he's on the field, There's no doubt about it. Like, he's the big difference between tons of pressure, lots of sacks. Those few games in the middle of the Niners season in which he was not there, his presence was definitely missed. I mean, that definitely was something that, like, you could tell that they were missing with not having Nick Bosa there. Or, sorry, not Nick Bosa's, like, sack totals went down severely, as well as the rest of the teams. So D4 definitely adds a little element that the Niners don't have whenever he's not on the field. And then Aaron Armstead rocking 86 too. That's not bad either, you know. Like, that's it. I think pretty sure, like, if you looked at his ratings in previous years, he was like in the 70s. So him making that jump is huge. I mean, yeah, the disrespect for Jimmy though, I just got to get back to it. I mean, 83, you know,
83.
Like,
hey, maybe it's another chip on his shoulder. Maybe it's another thing that just fuels him during the off season. It's like, you know what? Some of my peers aren't respecting me. Some of the people in the media aren't respecting me. Now this video game here isn't respecting me when they have the evidence that I took a team to the Super Bowl and was a throw away from giving the teams this franchise their sixth Super Bowl, and they still have me in the low 80s. Maybe that's something that just fuels him in the off season, which would be great. Maybe he comes out with a little bit more fire under him for the start of the season.
I'm not saying he needs to be like a 95, but come on.
No, right.
You know, it's like, but I mean,
like high 80s is perfect for him. High 80s, 88, 87 would be fine.
I mean, it's okay, Jimmy. You're still a 90 in our hearts and minds. But
yes.
All right, guys. Well, what did you think of the Madden ratings? Let us know in the comments section. Who was underrated? Who was overrated? Where does Jimmy Garoppolo rank in your mind? And what do you think his rating should be? Go ahead and check out some of our other videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You guys stay safe, happy, and healthy. And we'll see you later, Niners fam.